We're going live on tonight's Locked On Giants podcast, and I wonder what we'll talk about. Could it be? Nah, you'll just have to wait and see. Coming up next with Traina and Taina.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Giants Live. You've got Patricia Traina, your host, with the Entertainah, a very relieved Entertainah. He was kind of nervous all day today, folks, but we're here. It's done. Taina, we got a lot to talk about, huh?
A lot to talk about. I'm excited to talk about it with you. But yeah, we were going back and forth on Twitter and the direct messages the last couple of days. Both of us nervous, not knowing what's going to happen with this whole situation because it went down to the final hour. I think both of us thought in the end Daniel Jones was going to be extended, but as it got to the final, literally minutes, like I think it was announced like 6 or 7 minutes before 4 o'clock. I was starting to have my doubts. I was like, wow, he might actually be tagged. And if he's tagged, what is that going to mean for the rest of the team? Because it's going to be $32 million against the cap. And then you're going to have to back order the salaries. It may affect the 2024 cap even worse than you may want to. So I started having all these worries scrambling through my head because I thought in the end this was always the best option was to extend Daniel Jones. And it worked out even better, at least for me. And I'm curious to get your opinion. We'll talk about it as we go about. But it worked out even better for me than I thought it was going to. My thought process was it was going to be at least $100 million guaranteed for Daniel Jones. I didn't know what the dollar amount would be on a per year average. I thought 35 to 38 was what I was comfortable with. People are going to see the 40 number. They're going to go ballistic. 40 for 160, $40 million a year. It's the guaranteed. The guaranteed worked out to be, I think, 94, at least according to Ian Rappaport, which to me tells me it won't be a clean break after 2 years, but it's a contract where if things don't go according to plan, they're probably going to be able to maneuver out of this contract after 2 years. And if you could get out of a contract after 2 years, that means if he plays really bad next year and you have a top 3 or 4 pick, you could still draft a quarterback. So for Joe Schoen, I don't think it limited him in any way, shape, or form for the people that were worried about bringing back Daniel Jones. The way that I look at this contract extension for Jones is essentially you tagged him twice, but you were able to maneuver the cap because you gave the extension. But it's basically as if you tagged him twice and you have about a $15 or $20 million dead hit on the end. Probably. That's probably how this is going to turn out in year 3. But instead of it being 32 against the cap year 1, it's 19. And it'll be 38 or 39. At least that's the projection that I heard year 2, which is essentially what the franchise tag would be year 2. So by doing it this way, you gave yourself $13 more million extra dollars for this year's cap to shore up this roster and help out Daniel Jones. But I think it's the best of both worlds. Jones now gets the opportunity to play in the same scheme for the next 2 years with Brian Dable, hopefully with Mike Kafka as well. He gets to grow as a quarterback. We get to find out what he could potentially be. And Joe Schoen gets the opportunity over the next 2 years not to have that pressure of having to draft the next franchise quarterback, build up the roster. It is a process. They're going to build this team up. They're going to see what Jones could be over the next 2 years. And if he doesn't become that guy, now you have the better equipped roster to support the quarterback that you're bringing in. So I think it's a win-win across the board. I think it's a great contract.
It absolutely is. And before we get more into the contract, for those of you who are wondering, Bad Dog unfortunately won't be able to join us tonight. He had to work late. I guess he was bad and they had kept him after school or something like that. But nonetheless, we'll have another show as we get free agencies coming up. So we'll probably do another live show in another week or so. But yeah, Taina, I'll tell you what, it was a little touch and go. There was some back and forth. There was some tension that built up. I always thought that it would get done. There was a period though that I thought, oh, okay, this kind of took the wrong turn. But then, I started getting, inklings that it might be closer than what it should, what everybody thought. And it was, but I'll tell you what, I haven't seen the whole deal. Rappaport rap sheet put some numbers out. And I want to talk about some of the numbers. And then, folks, if you have questions, obviously we'll put them in the chat box and we'll answer them. But 4 years, $160 million. So that's $40 million per year.
Mm-hmm.
35 million more in incentives. If you guys remember, I've been talking about likely to be earned and not likely to be earned. I'll bet there's some not likely to be earned in this contract as well. 82 million over the first 2 years. That's about 11 million more than if they would have tagged him twice, this year and next year. So he won out on that. 94 million virtually guaranteed. So at signing. So that, like you said, under 100,000, and the first year cap number 19, which is about, I want to say it's 17.7% of the cap, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what
19? No, the cap's 225, so that's not that's like 8%.
All right, 8%. All right, my
Yeah, yeah,
math's off. Yeah.
it's not much at all.
The bottom line is that it came out. It's reasonable.
Yeah.
It's about what you would want for the quarterback, because the big concern was if they did 32, it would have been, it would have been a heck of a lot higher.
Yeah.
So with Jones now under contract, or he will be under contract, he hasn't signed a deal yet, but it's gonna happen. A very big question mark removed. Now, believe it or not, Chris, there are still people who are complaining about this deal.
I don't know how you can complain about this. The only way you can complain about this deal is if you're just looking at the broad numbers,
right,
and you're not actually looking at the guarantees and we don't know the full structure yet. But
no,
he got less money than Derek Carr. Guarantees is all that matters. He's got less money than Derek Carr.
Right.
I don't know how you could complain about this deal. Like I thought it was gonna be worse than this. I thought it was gonna be like 110 guaranteed. To be honest with you.
Yeah. And the good thing about it, and this is something that I know I've spoken about several times, is it's a shorter deal. Even though it's for 4 years, it'll help with spreading out the signing bonus, but there's an out probably after 2. So if Daniel plays really well, then you know what? After 2 years, you rip it up and you start all over again with a new deal. If he does not, you cut him. You take whatever's left of the dead money hit. So I'm curious to see the entire structure, but I'd be willing to bet there's some not likely to be earns and stuff that'll push that money upwards if he meets certain incentives. I mean, it's what they did with Eli. It's the common tactics that quarterbacks get in their contracts. So overall, I've got no issues with the contract. If anything, I'm glad it's done, because otherwise, if it hadn't gotten done, I think Daniel would have had to play on the tag this year. Yeah. And we would have had to go through this again next year.
Yeah, and for more money. If he does well.
And with Andrew Thomas coming up, with McKinney coming up, with several guys coming up. So I'm glad they got it done. And I'm especially glad that Saquon got the tag, because I really believe, and I've got no proof of this, but there had been like some whispers here and there that Saquon probably would have drawn some interest on the open market had he hit the market.
For sure.
So now that people would have to give up 2 first-round picks, Saquon ain't going anywhere.
I think in the end, Patty, the Saquon thing is going to play out with the Giants being able to sign him for around the price that's been reported that Shane wants him to sign for, which is $12.5 to $13 million. And this is why. You're starting to see the running back market getting even stronger. I think like Derrick Henry's going to be available now, right? So like there's even more strong running backs.
The draft class is strong.
The draft class is strong. And now that Saquon is tagged, this market, these teams are going to start to use up their cap space. And they're not going to, a lot of these teams aren't going to want to spend $15 million a year on Saquon Barkley once they start to fill in their needs. And they're not going to know if he's going to become available. So like the teams that, like the Bears, for example, that I thought could sign him because they have so much cap space, they may sign now Jacobs, or they may sign Henry. So they may not need a running back. So I think when push comes to shove, even if Barkley is tough with the Giants in these negotiations, he's going to have to come down. He's not going to be able to get $15 or $16 million. And if he's not willing to come down, if he's not willing to get to that 13 million area, that happy spot for Shane, what this tag now does for Shane, he could trade him. So it gives Shane all the options. And I think that's why Shane was dying to get this Daniel Jones contract done with, because he wanted the ability to have all his options open with Saquon Barkley, because at the end of the day, he's still an asset. So even if you are not going to be willing to meet him at that $15 million mark, you could get draft capital for him if things don't work out in your negotiations as this prolongs.
Absolutely. And I think the Giants probably don't want to go more than 13.5 per year with Barkley.
Yeah.
That's the number I keep hearing. Derrick Henry, I want to say was at 12 or 12.5. So they're going to slot him in there. I would think. So the negotiations there, they were coming along, but let's face it, Barkley was kind of on the back burner while they were working to get Jones done. That was the priority. But you got to tip your hat to Joe Shane for getting this done. Ideally, I think he would have liked to have had both agreed to terms so he didn't have to use the tag at all. But this was the best case scenario because 10 million comes out of the cap right away, but they can make that up. They're going to, and they will. If Kenny Golladay becomes a pre-June 1st cut, that's about 6.7 million right there. They're probably going to do Leonard Williams, redo or extend Leonard Williams. So they'll make that money up and then some. I would think Dexter Lawrence will get his deal done. So now the question becomes, what do they do with this money? Do they bring back any other guys? Julian Love, I think, would be number 3. I'm not so sure if he's coming back. Who else do they bring back from their list of free agents? And then who do they target when they hit free agency? So those are the next questions that need to be answered. And Shane has a plan. It's just a matter of what that plan is.
Yeah, exactly. And I see Jacob. No, I misspoke. Henry's not a free agent, but it came out that the Titans are looking to trade him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're in sell mode. So he's available. He's just not available as a free agent. So I misspoke there. But yeah, it came out that they're looking to trade him because they're kind of trying to sell off and they see he's probably a running back that's going to start to fall off. But yeah, I think it's a great day to be a Giant fan today. It could have went a lot worse than it did. And now what's going to be interesting is to see all the other moves that they now make. Do they extend Barkley before March 15th? Because if they're able to do that, now he's not 10 against the cap. Maybe he's 5 against the cap.
Yes.
And that gives you more money to play with going into free agency. Do they extend Leonard Williams? Do they extend Adoree Jackson? So it's going to be interesting.
No one Jackson.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't want to extend Jackson, but people have brought that up as a possibility. I would rather do Leo if I'm going to do one of them.
Well, Dexter and Leo are the two I would think
Dexter's going to be extended. It's just a matter of when it happens. But it'll be interesting to see what Shane decides to do. And even if he goes into free agency with only $20 or $30 million to spend, he could sign some guys. I mean, at the end of the day, the way that they could structure these deals. So I'm excited because now I think Shane has the ability. He's not going to go hog wild. He's not going to go crazy. But now he has the ability to bring in a couple of pieces to fill out this roster. Maybe if he needs a starting linebacker, maybe he needs a number 2 or 3 wide receiver in free agency. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he could really do in his first true offseason where he has some money to spend to bring in some outside talent.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Irish Rover asks, how much do you think DJ's second year of the contract will be? First year is 19. I'm thinking it's going to be at least double that. I don't know. I've got to see the numbers, obviously, but I would say it's probably going to shoot up because the way it works is, you've got cash and you've got the cap hit. And the cash includes, any roster bonuses, which I'm sure Daniel's got, a signing bonus. So he's going to get like a ton of money up front. And then his base salary is going to be low. Well, then come next year, he's not going to have that ton of cash. So even though it'll show up on the books, Rover, that will inflate, the prorated signing bonus and whatnot, that will prorate everything. And it will inflate the numbers. So I would say at least double.
Yeah, there's been rumors on Twitter. I don't know how accurate it is. People in my live chat told me it's about 39 year 2. If that's accurate, that would be about double. And that's a franchise tag though.
And that's fine. And that's fine, quite honestly, because the cap's going to go up by
they have 190 million cap next year right now. So they got money to play with. And that would be as if you tagged him the second year. That's the price for the tag year 2 if he were to come back next year. So that's the way I look at that. It's like we tagged him twice, but we got 13 off the initial year. And we're probably going to have to pay that 13 on a cap hit if we decide to cut him after 2 years. That's probably what we're looking at. Something like that, if I had to guess. But we'll see when all the details come out. But regardless, I think this is about as good of a deal as you could hope for if you were a Giants fan.
Yeah, and as soon as I get that deal, folks, I'm gonna break it down both on the pod. I'll also probably do an article over on Giants Country. I know a lot of you have been asking me, and the drips and drabs are coming out, but I want to see the entire deal and see how it's structured. If it's structured the way I think it's structured, it's really a smart deal. And I'll tell you, I'm excited to see it.
What do when do you think these are going to come out, like official, like where we're going to be able to see them? Like,
I would say, well, it depends on when Daniel signs it. Daniel's got to actually sign it before it gets filed.
oh, I see. Okay.
So we could see it as soon as tomorrow. We could see it in a couple of days, but trust me when I say I'm all over it. I've
Oh, I
already put
can't
out
wait.
feelers
I
for it.
can't wait to do a video on it either. But
Yeah.
the question I have for you is what's your like predict, because that's the number I'm really concerned with. It's the dead cap hit after the second year. What do you
Oh,
think that'll be?
I don't even want to take a guess because I want to
Yeah.
see, what do they have as far as we know the first 2 years, over the first 2 years, it's what, 80 something million guaranteed.
82 or something like
Yeah.
that.
So that's going to affect the dead cap. So I've got to see what the signing bonus is. I just don't have enough information to even guess at this point.
Yeah.
If he did a 4-year deal, I would think maybe the signing bonus is about 20
That's
million might
5 a
make
year.
sense.
So that's five. That's a
Well,
$10 million
5
cap
per
hit.
year. Yeah, so then you figure there's probably a roster bonus in the first year, and then the base salary is probably low. So you could very easily get to,
15 to
19
20.
because
Yeah.
19 is the first year's worth,
Yeah.
and then it jumps up. So yeah, I'm curious to see how it looks, to be honest with you, because I have some numbers, but I don't have enough to sit here and say, okay, this is what it's going to be, or dead money and stuff like that. But
Of course. Just a
yeah,
guess. That's what I was just
I'm pretty
asking.
sure though it's a 2-year deal. I really
Yeah, I
think
agree.
there's
I
an
think
out after
I
2.
don't think it's going to be a clean break after 2, but I think it's going to be they'll be able to get out if they want.
Maybe there's an option year for all we know. I mean,
Yeah.
these are the little details we need to know in order to really assess it. So trust me, I'm keeping an eye out for this to see what they did with that, because it's telling. It's telling because, like I said, people are like, well, Daniel Jones he's not the long-term answer. The length of the deal and from what we've seen so far, the structure says that they're optimistic. They feel they can win with him, but they're not ready to, give him a Patrick Mahomes type of deal. Whereas with Mahomes,
For all we know, Patty, and I want to address what Matthew said also about being stuck in mediocrity. I'll speak on that too. But for all we know, Patty, Daniel Jones' side wanted this too, because Daniel Jones may be looking at the market and say, "Yeah, I'll take my 90 guaranteed with the ability to hit the market again in 2 years." Because that's essentially what this contract's going to end up being. It's going to be a 2-year evaluation of Daniel Jones. Yep. And if the Giants feel that Daniel Jones is a top, I would say 7 or 8 quarterback, they're going to give him the big contract. And if they don't, even if he's pretty good, they'll probably let him go. And if they do that, he hits the market and he's worth $60 million as a pretty good quarterback. So for all we know, Jones may have wanted the ability to get it after 2. So it might have been something that both sides wanted. Maybe the Giants wanted to hold on them for 3. We don't know. But regardless, I think it could work for both parties. I think it makes sense for both parties.
Absolutely.
To what Matthew said, with Jones, it seems like we're stuck in mediocrity. And that's a fair, I can get that perspective because and I get fans that say that. Like, Jones is not a top 5 quarterback. He's not going to be. But my answer to him, it's a 2-year commitment. What could we have done other than bring back that? Like, the other option was trading up for a quarterback and giving up 3 first-round picks. So does that not keep us in mediocrity without having 3 first-round picks over the next 3 years and having a rookie quarterback in this out? So we're going to be mediocre. If that's your thought process about Daniel Jones, we're still going to be in mediocrity the next 2 years if you trade up to get a quarterback.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
When you're giving up all that draft capital.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And there's too many needs right now. Too many needs. So you're not really one player away at this point. So do you really want to start all over again? I mean, see what happens. Daniel showed that he could handle what they asked of him last year. They're going to up the ante this year. I'm sure they're going to ask him to do a little bit more. They're getting better talent. If he wets the bed, you say, okay, maybe we need to think about moving on. If he does well, then, as was pointed out before, the cap's going to go up. Pretty soon, $40 million a year for a quarterback is going to look like peanuts.
Daniel's going to be worth, I'll tell you this right now, if Daniel Jones becomes, and I think he can, by the way, if he becomes a top 7, 8 quarterback, Daniel Jones in 2025 is going to be worth $70 million a year, $65 million a year with the way that this market is accelerating. And his agent knows that. And
Sure.
they could have been the ones driving the 2-year out for all we know. So, I think it works for both sides. That's all,
It
that's all.
definitely does.
Yeah.
It definitely does. All right, folks, if you have questions, I know some questions have kind of flown by me, but if we didn't answer them, put them again in the chat box and we'll get them. I know somebody asked when when is Andrew Thomas eligible to have his deal redone? All draft picks are eligible to have their contracts extended after 3 years. So Thomas is eligible now, but you're not going to do everybody in one shot because you want to stagger it. You want to have certain guys, every year you want to have so many guys on the first year of their new deals because it just helps with the cap management. You don't want to, extend everybody in one shot. And now all of a sudden year 2, the contracts double. And now it's like, oh my God, we don't have any cap room. So, that's where they're at. I don't think Andrew gets done this year.
No, I think it's next year. I think they're going to space it out.
Yeah, definitely on that. Let me see. I think I saw another question. Let me just see real quick. Sorry, guys. You guys, the questions are going by so fast. I'm trying to keep up with them, and I just missed one. Again, guys, if you have a question, it'll help me. Just put it in the question box again, and I'll pick them up as quickly as I can. All right. This was Jacob's question about Andrew Thomas. Oh, here we go. Here's one from Mark B. What's the vibe about this signing in the Giants camp celebrating? Mark, we're not in the building right now. We're not allowed in until at the soonest, I think the mini camps or I should say the OTAs. But actually, no, I take that back. We're not allowed in the building until the draft comes up. So I would think that there was a sigh of relief because had they had to use the cap or the franchise tag on Daniel, that would have really put a crimp in their cap space. I mean, because that whenever you use the tag, that money comes right out of your pot. That would have left the Giants with about $11 million to not only sign their draft class coming up, but also to do things in free agency.
And that would have destroyed the 2024 cap.
Pretty much.
Pretty
much.
It would have.
So yeah, I would think there's a sigh of relief. I don't know, who was, I'm sure John Mara got involved. I'm sure, Joe Shane, Brandon Brown obviously were involved. I don't know what Kevin Abrams was involved with this, but just overall a good job, sigh of relief. And now they can, make moves. All right. Joe asked, can Barkley's contract be renegotiated now that he's franchised? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's not. The Giants said, right. The Giants said in their press release today that they intend, basically they plan to, keep negotiating with Saquon. The tag is just a placeholder. I mean, guys, you remember? I think it was 2009. Brandon Jacobs went through the same thing. Brandon Jacobs did not want the tag, and he got the tag. And they did it as a placeholder to keep teams away from, luring him away. And it worked, and they were able to come up with a new contract for him. So it's basically a repeat of history, if you think about it.
Well, I say this all the time when people bring up the tag. That's the intended purpose for the tag.
Exactly.
It's not, teams take advantage of it in the past when, especially with running backs, but it's not meant for that. It's not meant for you to use the tag for the player to have to play on that. It's meant for you. It's meant to make it so teams that draft players have an advantage in terms of being able to keep them. So you can keep them off the open market and negotiate with them exclusively. And that's exactly what the New York Giants are going to do. But there's no way. I don't want to use the term no way, but I'd be shocked. Like, obviously in the past, running backs have played on the tag, but Saquon is a very odd case in the sense that Saquon's already made like $35 million because he was the second overall pick. If you're Saquon, you could afford to sit out a year. You're like, I already made my bank. I'm going to hold out until they give me something that I'm worth.
He's not sitting out, though. He's not sitting out.
I agree.
Yeah.
But he's also not playing on the tag.
All right.
They're going to get him. You think he's going to play in the tag?
I don't think he wants to, but I think. And by the way, I have a piece of breaking news for you. But I'll let me just finish this.
Oh, no! Get the break. I want to hear it.
No, I want to finish this topic. I'll tell you this. I'm a stinker, aren't I, folks? No, after Saquon basically gave the speech about, oh, I miss not being able to play with my brothers, while he was injured and stuff like that. I don't see him sitting out. Now, could I see him maybe skipping the OTAs if he doesn't have a new deal? Possibly, because now you're at risk for injury. Could I see him maybe cutting out on training camp? Possibly. But I don't think he skips the season. No. First of all, I don't think it'll get to that point. I think they'll get something done well before, they get to that point.
Yeah, I just
Just
don't see them.
my
I
guess.
just don't see him playing on the tag. I don't think the
All right.
Giants are going to want him to play on the tag.
Want the breaking news?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Is it all right? Wait, before you tell me the breaking news, is it like?
It's just for programming purposes. It's not.
Oh, all right.
anything-
I was going to ask you. It's just like bombshell. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
No,
go
it's
ahead.
not. I'm just for those of you who are curious. The Giants are going to send out an announcement on Daniel. We should be getting it momentarily. That has quotes and stuff like that. Tomorrow, Thursday, right? Today's Tuesday. No, today's Tuesday, right?
Yeah, tomorrow's Wednesday.
Tomorrow's Wednesday. All right. So tomorrow, see, I tell you, I lose track of the days. I'm telling you. Tomorrow, there's going to be Zoom calls with Joe, Shane, and Daniel. So you will want to tune in to Twitter. I don't have the times yet, but I just got a notice from the Giants saying that is the plan for tomorrow. And let me see.
That's pretty big news. I'll be at work, unfortunately, so I won't have my video up till later in the day. But that's pretty big news.
Yeah, I mean, I figured you want to know. I'm just looking to see if the announcement came in from. I think they're working on it now, which means Daniel. If they're sending out an announcement tonight, an official announcement, that means Daniel signed the contract. So that's which doesn't surprise me because Daniel has been around, working out. And just to go back, Chris, to what to the nervousness everybody was feeling. The fact that Daniel and Joe Shane had said that Daniel had been in the building working out. I think Brian Dable said it too at one point, I think after the season ended. If Daniel was really not intent on re-signing with this team, or if he was really digging his heels in, would he have been around the facility doing workouts and studying film?
Yeah, it never made sense.
Right. So, I mean, I think both sides definitely wanted it to get done. It was just a matter that, would it get done? So, it will be done. And I'm just keeping an eye out now for this announcement. I'll read you when it comes in. I can read you some of the quotes and stuff.
One of these days, I'm going to get you to ask a question for me.
One of these days, you got to get a credential, my friend. You keep doing what you do, you'll get in there.
They won't let me in that building. They saw my Daniel Jones reaction.
Yeah, that's going down to Smithsonian, my friend. that was classic. That was classic. My husband still can't believe. He goes, "That's the same guy." I said, "Yeah," and then I showed him Dog's reaction. He goes, "Wait a minute, those are the same guy." I said, "Yeah," and he's like, "Wow." But in fairness, you should have seen the reaction in the media room. So we're not quite as extreme as what you guys did, but it was like.
Shock.
So,
yeah.
All right. Quick questions we got here. Gabe wants to know, Ian O'Connor reported that OBJ is an option that the Giants are expected to pick up where they left off with him. Your thoughts? Move on. Seriously. I mean, look, I think Joe Shane and the Giants, they're going to explore all the options. They're going to revisit. They're going to see where Odell is. They owe it to themselves to do the due diligence. But for heaven's sakes, move on. I mean, Odell, unless he's willing to play for a low contract, which I don't know if he is. I mean, they need an X receiver. I know Odell can play the X, but wouldn't it be nice if they could get a tall guy, a real skyscraper type of guy? I don't know.
I don't think the Odell thing is going to happen.
I don't think Odell happens either. I mean,
you never know. Like maybe Odell's like out of the kindness of his heart just wants to come back here so bad because he's got friends on the team. But what does Dable say all the time?
Got to be a team player. Smart,
tough, dependable. Smart, tough, dependable. Well, when the videos came out on that plane video, and I know people who love OBJ are going to whatever. Was that dependable? Like I just
wasn't smart.
It was not smart. And as soon as I saw, I'm like, they're not signing Odell Beckham. It's not happening.
I would be shocked if Odell. I mean, look, again, they owe it to themselves to find out where he's at.
Yeah.
They owe it to themselves to sit down and have another conversation with him. I would not be shocked if that happens. Does that necessarily mean that he's an option? I don't know, guys. I don't think so.
Who knows? Maybe it'll happen.
Remember, Odell didn't work out the first time he was here. So how
Yeah.
can anybody say he's an option without them? They're not going to sign him without him working out.
Yeah.
So,
I don't see it. I personally don't see it.
I don't either.
I know it's going to be a story.
Right.
And we'll see, and maybe they'll talk to him, but I don't think they'll sign him.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, Brandon asks, have you looked at some prospects? Yes, Brandon, we're doing some prospects over on Giants Country. So I've been editing them. I'm also planning to do a mock draft at some point this week, probably later in the week. I'm going to try another mock draft, post-combine mock draft. So yes, I've been looking at prospects, and we'll see if my mock draft makes any sense. Spoiler alert, I'm going cornerback, which, by the way, reminds me of another question that I saw. I forget who asked it, so I apologize. Somebody said, why don't you think the Giants will extend Adoree Jackson? Adoree Jackson's in the final year of his contract this year. He's got a voidable year after that. He has one interception or two interceptions? I think he has one. All right. Not a big playmaker for the money he's making. This is a deep cornerback class. You could potentially get 2 future starters in this class that play, the style of defense Wink Martindale prefers. That's why I think that maybe the Giants hold their water, if you will, with Adoree Jackson. Just a guess. I could be wrong, but it makes too much sense. You want big plays, and they just haven't been there. Even the pass breakups just haven't been there. So
I actually like Adoree Jackson, but
I do too.
Yeah,
Don't
but
get me wrong.
the thing with it, and I wouldn't be against extending him if it was, I wouldn't want it to be like a long extension. But if it was like a 2-year thing, I would be against that if you wanted to spread the money out a little bit. But the other thing is, I don't really see the incentive for Adoree either, to be honest with you. Like I see the incentive more so for Leonard, because Leonard's older.
Right.
Leonard's 31, 32. He probably won't have a huge market. If Adoree's a pretty good year for the Giants next year, even if it's pretty good, if he hits the market what will he be after next year? 27? Like, if he hits the market as a pretty good corner, he's going to be handsomely rewarded for it. So I don't see the incentive for Adoree to try to sign an extension with the Giants either. I do see it for Leonard Williams. So I don't see it with Adoree. I think we're going to end up letting him go. I think we're going to draft after he's going to play this year. But I think after this, I think we'll draft the first-round corner. We'll try to develop Flott. You got Robinson, maybe a corner in the next draft, maybe draft like 2 corners in this draft. But yeah, I think this, if I had to guess, I think this is Adoree's last year as a Giant.
I think so too. All right, a couple of shout outs here to Fabian and Davey Anonymous. Thank you, guys. Papa Guzzo, I see you. Thank you. I see Cy Guy Bry, Jordan Zamiti, I see you. I see a lot of familiar names. Guys, thank you so much for coming in on such short notice. I mean, this was exciting, and always happy to see you guys do a live show, and of course have the Taina here. Dog, we're thinking of you. If you're watching this, Dog, we're thinking of you. We miss you, but Dog's bringing home the bread, so he's bringing up the bread. All right, let's see what other questions we have here. And then by the way, tonight, folks, I only have one commercial break, one quick one. So that's pretty good. Let's see, where are we? Do we have any questions? Was Patty hinting at D-Hop? Was I hinting at D-Hop then? I guess this is regarding a tall receiver. You know what? Let me touch on that actually, because I've been asked if I think the Giants might make a trade for DeAndre Hopkins. I can make a case for it, and I can make a case against it. If the Giants can get Hopkins for one of their thirds, like the second, third round pick that they have, and a conditional 6th that can turn into a 5th based on production, I could see that being the case. I mean, I could probably live with that, assuming that the Giants don't give Hopkins a new deal. If they just keep the deal as is, but I don't know if that would fly, to be honest with you.
You just hit it on the head, because somebody asked me this exact question in my stream, and I said the same exact. No, I said 3rd and a 5th, but I'm not extending him. If I can,
Right.
because the way I look at it is, he fits the timeline with Daniel Jones. You get him here for 2 years. He's got 2 years on it. It gives Daniel Jones that's at least a stopgap number one as you try to find that number one over the next 2 years in the draft to better evaluate him as a quarterback and to give this team a chance to actually like really compete next year. If you add him, you get Barkley back, Jones second year in the offense, Evan Neal gets better. Suddenly that offense could be cooking. So I definitely see the attraction of bringing in Hopkins, but if it includes that I have to extend him, an injury, a guy that's already had an injury history, he's 31. I don't want to do that. I'm not touching an extension, but if I could bring him in and I don't have to touch the extension, I'd be willing to do it 3 and a 5.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and I don't think, is Hopkins necessarily in a position to demand an extension? I don't think he is.
Yeah, there's rumors he wants one, but that doesn't mean he's
Well,
going to get it.
I mean, I want $1 million. That doesn't mean I'm going to get it. I mean, come on. We could all want something, and that doesn't mean that, we're going to get it. All right. I just saw another question, and I wanted to pop on because I wanted to address something that somebody wrote. World Heaviest Jam Band said Locked On Network should do a massive 20+ member mock draft. I think that's what we're going to be doing. We did it last year. I'm pretty sure we're going to do it again this year. I know we do have a special network-wide programming that's coming up ahead of free agency. So, we're looking to do these group things. So that's definitely, think something on the pipeline. All right. Somebody just put, I think it was it Brand? Oh, yeah, it was Brandon. He said, you can't intercept the ball if they don't throw at you. Brandon, I went over to Pro Football Focus. Adoree Jackson, since becoming the Giant, let's see, he's been targeted 125 times, and he has allowed 71 receptions. All right. So, yeah, they do throw at him. According to Pro Football Focus, he's allowed 4 touchdowns since becoming a Giant, 13 pass breakups, 1 interception. So I stand by what I said, my friend. Sorry.
I think he's a good corner. He's not a great corner.
He's good, right? Is he?
I don't think he's a 1. If you have a very good secondary, I don't think he's a CB1. I think he's a CB2.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Would I be willing to extend him under the right circumstance? Yes, but I think because of his age, he doesn't have the same. I don't see him wanting to do it. So I just don't think he'll be back after this year. I really don't.
I would be very surprised if that were to happen as well.
Yeah.
All right. This is a good one from Scott Young. Scott Young asked, "Do you think the Giants have reached out to Leo about extending his contract?" Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. There was buzz at the combine that. Shane or somebody from the Giants met with Leo's agent. I didn't see it, but I had heard that there was buzz about that. Now it could have been.
What do you think a realistic mark? Like if they were to extend Leo, what's like
probably extend him for? You do a 3-year extension, maybe make the 3rd year a avoidable year, and that's what I would do because Leo's 28 now.
Yeah, he's approaching 30.
And he's had injuries the last couple of years. Well, he's also played a lot too. So if you want to get him through a contract extension, you probably want to cut back on his snaps, I would think.
Right.
I think that would make sense. But yeah, I would say if you're going to extend Leo, I wouldn't do more than 3 years, maybe do 2 and make the 3rd year avoidable one. So that would be my guess.
And that may add like $15 million to this year's cap if you're able to do something like that.
But it'll cut down that $32 million.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. No. I mean, it'll give us $15 more million in this year's cap if they're able to extend them, right? So that's the attraction there. I think that's the best course if they could do it. Right. And I agree with what you said about in terms of lowering his snap count. I think that's going to be the goal for Shane because one thing that I think a lot of Giants fans are not looking at. I think they're going to be attacking this defensive line a lot this offseason.
Oh, yes. They've already said it.
Yeah, you heard it in the press conference.
That's it.
Yeah, yep. and I think they're going to try to get a lot of depth on that line. Leo's obviously still going to be a huge part of that defense, but I think they're going to try to have more of a rotation.
Absolutely, because they didn't really have that. I mean, once Nick Williams went down, DJ Davidson went down, that was it. Yeah. So absolutely. All right, I want to give a shout out to the Big Moo who just joined the chat. Hello, Moo. And then we have a couple of questions on the same topic. Dane Beck and Denzio, can we get Love back? My gut feeling is Julian Love is not back. And I say that because listening to Shane at the Combine last week, he made the comment that they're anticipating a bunch of veteran safeties, I should say, to shake free. They have Belton, they have McKinney, they have I think they have a kid from on the practice squad that they like. I forget, the name escapes me at the moment.
Well, they got Pinnock.
Pinnock, yep, they've got Pinnock, who I know they like.
Yeah.
I suspect Love is going to walk. Just my gut. I've said that right from the get-go. I didn't think Love was as much a priority. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Love, I'm trying to remember what they offered him, what I heard they offered him at the bye week. I think it was, I want to say about 6 or 7 per year, 6 or 7 million.
I think that's where I'd be willing to go. Anything more, I think I'd let him walk.
Yeah, and I think Love wanted a little bit more. So I don't get a warm and fuzzy feeling about him returning. So, all right. NY Giants 26. Where do you think our attention will be in free agency and the first round of the draft? Free agency, I think they go inside linebacker, which makes sense. You know, you want to get a veteran because otherwise right now that group is kind of young. You know, you got Darian Beavers coming back. Hopefully he'll be healthy. And then you've got, you still got Carter Coughlin. You've got Micah McFadden. McFadden kind of fizzled out a little bit there. I mean, I don't know if it's just because he got thrown in before he needed to. So I think inside linebacker for sure. I think defensive line, you might see a veteran. I just got the Daniel Jones notice, by the way. So yeah, those would be free agent targets. I don't know if they will, would they, I don't think they will do offensive line. They might, you know, obviously they'll bring back one of Gates or Feliciano. So yeah,
You got
that would be
what
my guess for
are
free
you looking at? You got a big update
I'm looking
there?
at the Daniel Jones thing. I'm sorry. I got caught. Yeah.
I'm getting excited. I'm getting excited.
Well, I just want to finish answering Giants 26 question. As far as the first round of the draft Giants, I wouldn't be shocked if they go cornerback. I keep saying it. I know
no, they're going. I said, Patty, I said like a month ago, I was like 90% they're going wide receiver or cornerback. Now I'm almost like 70% they're going corner. Like I think we're going
80% they're going.
Yeah, I might even be 80%. Like I think we're going corner. I think that's where the value is, where we're picking.
Okay. I've got the announcement on here. So just real quick, the Giants did confirm it's a 4-year deal. Let me see if they said anything with money. I don't think they do because they never do. All right. So they got a quote from Jones. No biggie there. Quotes from Joe Shane.
What did Jones have to say?
Okay, I'll read it. I'll read it for you guys. Just for you, I'll read it, Chris.
I want to hear what Jones had to say.
I'm going to read it. Calm down. All right. So the first quote came from Shane, who said, "We had productive conversations with Daniel and his representatives over the course of the past week or so. We are all pleased that we were able to come to an agreement prior to today's deadline. This gives us greater ability to continue to build our roster." Jones said, "I said after the season, I love this place. I've really enjoyed my time here and I want to be here. I have great respect for this organization, the Maras, the Tishes, my coaches, and teammates. I am happy we were able to come to an agreement." Let me see if there are any other quotes. Yep, that was pretty much it. Now, interestingly, and take this for what it's worth. I don't know if this means anything. The final paragraph of the announcement says, with Jones' services secured, the Giants placed a non-exclusive franchise tag on Saquon Barkley. This will allow them to continue negotiations for a long-term contract with Barkley until the July 17th deadline and prioritize conversations with some of their other free agents, including Julian Love, wide receivers Richie James and Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard, offensive lineman John Feliciano and Nick Gates, and linebacker Jihad Ward. Take that for what it's worth, guys. Take that for what it's worth.
Interesting. Did that just come out on Twitter or did they?
That just came out, I just got that in the email. I'm sure it's on Giants.com now, but
Giants.com. Okay.
Yes.
I'm just messing with. I saw somebody say, "Calm down, Chris." I'm just messing with her. You know that.
And by the way, Fabian, Thin mints, baby. If you saw it, Tommy G said thin mints suck.
I gotta
I was
disagree
like,
with you.
dude, bad take. I almost fired Tommy G for that comment.
I disagreed with both of you, okay? Because yes, Tommy G's absolutely wrong. Thin mints are delicious. Girl Scout, you can't go wrong with Girl Scout cookies.
Yes.
But where I disagree with you, you said thin mints are Samoas are number one.
Is that the caramel cookies?
Coconut.
Coconut. Okay. I like the shortbreads.
Shortbreads are really good too. That's probably 2 for me.
And the peanut butter is not too bad. My husband loves the peanut butter.
It's good.
So I don't get Girl Scout cookies anymore because I don't have anybody who sells them. My niece is all grown up, so I got nobody who sells them. So if anybody wants to send me Thin Mint cookies, I'll take them. Shouldn't eat them, but taking them out of a freezer, ooh, so good. All right, let's see. I think somebody just asked about John Michael Schmitz and what round would he be? John Michael Schmitz, I could see him going late first, early second. I don't know if he'll make it to the Giants, but I'm warming up to what's his name? Titman?
Yeah,
the
second
kid
round.
from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I'm warming up to him as a possibility if John Michael Schmitz is in there.
At 25?
No, not at 25, in the second
round.
round.
I've seen Schmitz might go in the first round.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
He's moving up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Jacob Petruzzi has a question here. If they didn't want anyone to negotiate with Saquon, then why did they use the non-exclusive? Because can't he now negotiate with teams? Yes, he can negotiate with teams, but who's going to give up 2 first-round picks to sign him?
It's not happening.
What's that?
It's not happening.
Yeah, exactly. Not happening. So, you save money. Again, I had this discussion with somebody on my channel feed who kept saying, you're wrong. It should be the exclusive tag. No, I know what I'm talking about here, folks. The non-exclusive tag, the amount was set, for 10 million. All right. When you have the difference between the exclusive and the non-exclusive tag, there's 2 main differences. Number one, with exclusive, obviously you can't negotiate with other teams, but you get the average of the top 5 at your position for that year. Whereas with the non-exclusive, you can negotiate with other teams. And if you sign an offer sheet and that's not matched, the team gets 2 first-round picks as compensation. But as far as, what you would pay, it's the average of the top 5 at your position over the last 5 years. So it's a little different.
Much different.
And it's money-wise. Exactly.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 differences. And of course, the caveat is or 100% or 120% of the player's previous year's salary, whichever is greater. So yeah, that's the difference. And that's why you rarely see the exclusive tag used. I mean, the Ravens didn't use it on Lamar Jackson today, which kind of surprised me, but I guess they feel that nobody's going to give up 2 first-round picks for him.
Let me circle back to Barkley first. I think, people talk about now that they could trade him with the tech. I think the Giants still are going to have that idea that they could trade Barkley, but I think they're going to extend him in the process. That doesn't mean that they're going to keep him over the course of that contract. So that's still an option, even if they extend him. The Lamar Jackson thing, it's never happened before. I don't think it's ever happened before, at least at the quarterback position, where a team has traded 2 first-round picks when a quarterback is on a non-exclusive tag. He is the first one where I could actually see it happening.
I can see it happening too.
Yeah, and I don't
know.
The
Jets and Aaron Rodgers don't get a deal done. Could you see the Jets going for him?
Or how about Washington?
Ooh.
Giants fans might not want to hear that, but how about Washington? You're talking about a team, they just get enemies. They got a new offensive play caller. They got weapons all over. They need a quarterback. They're picking in the middle of the first round. I could see it. I could see Washington going after him.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Right. I think you are absolutely right about that. But you know what? I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So, all right. Let's see. We got a question here from Stanley Frederic. What is the cap space looking at right now? Stanley, let me get all the numbers in. I can give you a projection, but I really would rather work with actual numbers. Jones, again, is estimated to count for about 19 mil against the cap. Barkley, 10 million is coming off. But if they have some extensions and stuff in the pipeline. So let's give it a day or two once all the numbers come in, and then I can tell you. Matter of fact, tomorrow I'm going to do an article on Giants Country, kind of where the cap stands and how they can get more money and all that other good stuff. Because the other thing they have to decide, and this could influence what they have to start the free agency with next week, is what are they doing with Kenny Golladay? Is he going to be a pre-June or a post-June? I think now he becomes a pre-June.
I was going to say the same thing. I think had they tagged Jones, he would have been a post-June.
Yeah.
But
possibly.
because they extended him, they don't need that cap quite as much. So
well,
I think
actually, wait. Let me back up, because I think I got it backwards with me. Had they tagged Jones, I think he would have definitely been a pre-June.
Pre-June.
Yes, because they would have need to fill in the gap.
Need as much money
32.
as possible. Yeah.
Right. Now that they didn't tag Jones and they only have 10 million, they could, if they wanted to, make him a post-June. But I think it's contingent on what happens with Leo and how quick, how much they can get there. And if they do Dexter, it makes sense to just rip the bandage off, in my opinion, and just, swallow the dead money. I think it's like, I want to say 14 million in dead money. But we'll see what they do. That decision has not been made yet, and it won't be made probably until we get closer to the 15th. Although, if I remember, I'll try and ask Shane that question tomorrow on the call when
that's a good question to ask. Yeah, good one.
Yeah, if they've made a decision on that, because I mean, gosh, I've got a ton of salary cap related questions I could probably ask them. Everybody will probably get mad at me for asking them, but anyway. All right, let's see. I think I'm behind on these questions here. Okay, here's one from Matt. I'll make a couple guarantees. I think the Giants will sign Bobby Wagner and Floyd too. Saquon won't play under the tag this year. They will extend them. Giants will go cornerback week. I think you mean round one. I don't
agree.
know.
I agree with the cornerback.
I agree with the cornerback. I think Saquon will not play under the tag. I think they'll get him extended. I don't know that they'll sign Bobby Wagner.
I think Wagner, I know he's older, but he's still,
he's still good, but what cost is he going to come?
I don't think they're going to pay. He had a 91 PFF grade last year, and I'm not like a big PFF guy, but I'm like, he's still really good. Like, I can't imagine he's going to sign for less than like big time money, even at his age. So I think the Giants are going to bring in a linebacker. I just don't think it's going to be him.
I would agree with that. I mean, you've got to, I think, and here's another position that's a sneaky need and nobody's really talking about: edge rusher. You've got Thibodeau.
I agree with you.
You've got Ojulari, assuming that he could stay healthy. Who's your number 3 right now? Zimenez is a UFA. Ward's a UFA. Ellerson Smith can't stay healthy. And, quite frankly, he hasn't played a lot of football since 2019?
Yeah.
So who's your number 3?
We don't have one.
We don't have one. Exactly.
I could see us signing a mid-tier edge rusher. I could see something like that. Draft one maybe in the 3rd round. Hell, if we love one in the 1st round, who knows? We go so many ways. But you know what? You might have convinced me. We might take an edge rusher in free agency, like a mid-tier guy. I definitely think after what Shane said, both in the draft and in free agency, we might add a piece in free agency and a piece in the draft on the defensive line.
I think so too.
I think they want to build up like the Eagles do, where they got 5, 6 guys rotating in and out.
Yep, absolutely. Because you can't have Leonard and Dex. I mean, Dex is 25 years old, and he was getting a day off, a rest day. Come on. That's because he was playing so much. So you got to take some of the onus off of him. All right, Irish Rover wants to know, do we sign Gates? I don't know, but I'll tell you what, I will check in on that. I will see what things are with that. So hopefully I'll get an answer for you in the coming days, but I will look into that. I feel like it's going to be one of Feliciano or Gates, and I have a feeling it's going to be Feliciano, especially if the plan is to draft a young center.
Yeah.
And plug him in, and Feliciano can serve as the.
Well, let's look at the line right now. You got Thomas and Neal. You've got Azudu. You've got McKeithen. He's still going to be here. You've got Glowinski. That's 5. I do think Feliciano's coming back, as much as I don't like to say that.
I do too.
That's 6. And is Parrot's probably gone, right? Is Parrot
I
still
think Parrot's going to have an uphill battle to stick.
Parrot's probably gone. Who am I forgetting that's who else am I forgetting?
For the offensive line, you
Oh,
got
Bredesen.
Medicine.
That's 7. And then like you said, I think they'll probably draft a guy, at least one. Yeah, I think it's gonna be tough for Gates to come back. I hope I want him back, but if it's one or the other, and if they're keeping Feliciano, I don't think Gates is gonna stay.
Yeah, I will check in on that and see what's going on. But excuse me, my gut feeling is Nick moves on, which is going to break my heart. You guys know how I feel about Nick, but such is life, unfortunately. So, all right. Papa Guzzo wants to know if Colin Johnson is healthy, will he be back in the 53 roster? You know
He's
what?
under contract.
He's under contract. I think he's going to compete. Will he make the roster? Depends on how he looks.
Yeah.
The
other guy's Washington that we picked up late in the season, the former Steeler receiver. Don't forget about him.
Yep. Exactly.
I think they picked him
I
up
don't think I'm not so
specifically for
sure
next
Darius
year.
Slayton comes back. I still say that I'd be shocked if he comes back.
He's not coming back.
I don't see it happening. I mean,
unless there's no market for him, but I can't imagine that. There's not a lot of wide receivers to pick
I'm
from.
the same. I agree with you. I'm not so sure he comes back. So, and it's a shame. He's a good guy. He worked his tail off, but I just don't see it happening. So, all right, everybody. I do have to take one quick commercial break. This is under a minute. Don't go anywhere. We got plenty more here on Locked On Giants Live. Hey, Giant fans, the NFL season might be over, but the NBA season is in full swing. And now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 if their first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores to the spread and more. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, everybody, welcome back to Locked On Giants Live. You got Patricia Traina and Taina. Feels weird not saying Traina, Taina, and dog.
I think it works better when you leave off the Patricia. I love your name, but when it
Traina,
just
Taina, and dog. Okay.
Traina.
Okay, that works. I mean, that's how it used to be before we added dog to the pile, right? Oh man, but still, we have a blast. It's like 3 old buddies hanging around, and we're shooting the breeze about football, and then we've got all our extended friends who come in and join us in the chat room, and
I always love hanging out with the chat. The chat's the best part.
I love it too. I absolutely love it, and I'm so happy everybody was able to come in on such short notice here. We have quite a crowd here tonight from what I see. So, folks, if you have questions, drop them in the chat box, and if you don't get your question answered right away, just repeat it, because I get it's going quick. So I'm trying to look at the screen and also look at the questions at the same time. So I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to keep up.
Got to shout out Tommy just popped in. What's up,
Tommy G? Tommy G, what's going on? There's my man Tommy G. Got to give him a shout out.
What's up, Tommy?
We got to have Tommy G on the show one day.
Got to get him on. Tommy's great. I love Tommy.
Show one day. Yep.
Yeah, I had him on my show. I'm gonna get him on the show. Yeah, I'm gonna have him on the show again. He's a great guy.
Yes, he is. I love Tommy G. I bust his chops, but he knows I love him. Does a great job. By the way, if you're not checking out the Giants Country channel, Tommy G is dropped a lot of content this week. Good stuff. Do check it out. Giants Country has its own YouTube channel. Check it out. Tommy G's works really hard at it. Does a great job, and proud to have him as part of the family. So, all right, let's get back to some of these questions here. Papa Guzzo wants to know, will Wan'Dale Robinson be ready to start the season at a slot receiver? To be determined. No. I think I would not rule out that Wan'Dale Robinson starts on PUP for training camp. Will he be ready? it's too soon to say. I mean, I can tell you, when it comes to like Sterling Shepard, who also tore his ACL, Shepard kept telling me that he was ahead of schedule. I mean, he was telling me what he was doing.
Mhm.
And I'm not a doctor, so I don't know how ACL, what's normal in the recovery and all that stuff, but he was very excited about where he was progress-wise. Wandale is younger,
Yeah.
and I could see him being ahead of schedule. So will he be ready? I think right now it's 50-50. I gotta see where we're at when we get back in the building and, where everybody is kind of, injury-wise.
I
So
hope he gets back to himself because I'm gonna tell you what, I think he could do really well in this offense.
absolutely.
Like
Well, that's why they picked him.
yeah, that last game, and then I said to myself, because you started to see the way that you envisioned and thought the way that they were going to use him all year in that game, the way that they were motioning him and everything. And then I say to myself at the end of the year, the last 3 or 4 games when you really started to see them open up this offense, I kept saying to myself, "Oh my God, if Wandell was here on this play," like I really feel like in a more spread offense, which is what I expect next year, I could see one. I'm not saying he's going to be like, at 1,500 yards, but I could see him being a really, really nice player for this football team. I just hope that he's fully recovered and he could still, he's fully capable of doing everything that he was able to do before the injury.
Yeah. Because, with those ACLs, they say it could take up to 2 years for you to
Yeah.
really be back at where you need to be. But Wandale has youth on his side,
Yeah.
which I'm sure, I know I wish I had youth on my side because especially, you wake up in the morning and you got it's suddenly like, oh gosh, I never felt that before. So getting old stinks, folks. But all right, some more questions here. NY Giants 26, will Shep be back before the season starts? To be determined. I know they like him. Good locker room guy. Dable likes him. But if he's not healthy, do you really want to see them devote a roster spot to him? Just, for the sake of having him around. I think what will probably happen,
Mm-hmm.
they'll keep an eye on his rehab
Mm-hmm.
and see where he's at. I don't think they'll necessarily sign him tomorrow or next week or next month even, and just hold a roster spot for him. So I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't know. It's going to depend. There's a lot of factors that will come into play.
My heart
So,
wants Shepard back because I love Shepard, but my
mhm.
brain tells me as with
Yeah,
as
you move on.
yeah, and as bad as our special teams were last year, do you really want to dedicate? Because traditionally speaking, your wide receiver 5, 6, those guys are special teams contributors.
And Shepard never did special
Shepard's
teams,
not
if I
going to do
remember
that,
correct.
and
Yeah,
he ain't going to be a 3 or 4 on next year's team. So for me,
yeah.
as much I hate to say it, give him a coaching job, but I don't think it's in the best interest of the team to bring him back.
I would lean towards that as well, and it pains me to say it as well because
Yeah,
I think he wants to come back. He wants to go out on his terms,
yeah.
but that's going to be a heartbreaker for me. I mean,
He's probably one of my 3 or 4 favorite Giants, but it sucks.
well, it's interesting. Matthew Stein just asked this question: who's your favorite Giant at the moment? I mean,
Nick Gates
I
for
try
you.
not to play favorites. I really don't. I mean, I've made no mistake, no secret of how much I admire Nick Gates. I admire Darius Slayton. Shep is another guy I admire. I tend to like the guys who kind of come back from adversity. I just gravitate towards them, probably because I've done it myself, and I have an appreciation for that. But, I think a better question and a question I probably wouldn't answer is, which Giants don't you like? There's very few that I can honestly say I don't like. And not just, from the last roster, but throughout my career. I can probably count on one hand the number of Giants I can legitimately say I did not like as people.
Can I guess?
You can try.
I know you weren't the biggest fan of Pat Shermer for counting coaches.
Well, I've told that story, so I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
but I didn't hate Shermer. I
You
just
didn't hate
didn't
him, but you were
appreciate
like
how he spoke to me.
you didn't love him.
No.
I'm trying to think of like other Giants. Oh, Shockey. You told me that. That's one of
Well,
them.
again, Shockey,
Which
once
is
I
probably why you
when
gave that's probably why you
once
gave me his
once we cleared the air, so to speak,
yeah,
we were fine.
yeah, yeah. That's probably why you gave me his jersey for Christmas because you don't like him. But I'm trying to think
I
of
was going to cut it up, and then my husband said, "Why don't you give it to Chris? He might like it." I said, "Oh, that's a good idea."
yeah. I'm trying to think who else.
You probably won't guess,
All right,
and I'm not going to say.
all right. Then I'm not. All right, I'm not gonna push on it. I'm not gonna push on it.
I mean, look, again, you go to work, you do your job. At the end of the day, you come home. I mean, it's not like I'm hanging out with these people. I do, when I see them, I'm courteous. I do what I need to do, and I go home. I try to be a professional. That's what So whatever personal feelings I have towards individuals, I keep them to myself, or I write them in my diary, or I tell my husband. If I had my dog still alive, I would tell my dog. She was a great listener. By the way, I'm hoping to get a new dog this off season. Going to be
Nice.
working on that. But yeah, I mean, what's the point in going on the channel and saying, "Oh, I can't stand this guy."
Oh, you can't do that.
You can't do that. You can't do that. No way. So I just play it cool. So, all right, let me see. We have I guess this is all right. Duran Osman, what are your season aspirations prior to free agency and the draft? Expectations for Super Bowl in 2 years. My season aspirations, I guess, for the coming year, I'd like to see the Giants maintain what they did and build on it. I don't want to see them go backwards. Now, here's the other thing I will say. The Giants in the second half of the season, what did they win? 3 regular season games? So they kind of sputtered there towards
3 and they started 6-1 and they finished.
So they sputtered a little in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Because I think teams caught up to what they were doing. Of course, injuries also played a factor. I would like to see them. And also you can make the argument that they really, with maybe 2 exceptions, they really didn't beat a top 10 defense, a top flight defense. So I would like to see that be amongst the next steps in the progression.
Yeah. As far as the second half of the season goes, I don't know if it was so much we sputtered out or that. I mean, we played the Eagles 3 times in our last 10 games, and that, and I think we played Dallas, we played the Vikings. But the thing that I really want to see the New York Giants improve upon next year, more so than anything else, we got to get better from within the division.
Yes,
we've got to get better. Even if we don't beat the we can't be it can't be that big of a gap. Like even if we lose to the Eagles, keep it close, keep it competitive, show growth. So for me, that's the thing I'm looking for going into next year. Like improve from within the division, be more competitive against the Cowboys. And I think we could split with the Cowboys next year. I really believe that. Eagles are gonna be tough. We'll see what their team looks like. They may lose a lot of players, but they're gonna be tough. But just start to close the gap from within the division.
Absolutely, that's a good starting point too. Because what was their record in the division last year? Was it 2 and?
They were 1-4-1.
1-4-1. You got to have at least a 500 record in your division.
Yeah,
they haven't had that in years.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a good point. But just overall, start off strong, stay strong. You can't be dropping off towards the end of the season. And again, I know there were injuries involved, but I just felt like they sputtered and stumbled towards down the stretch, especially against the better defenses and whatnot. So that would be amongst it. Now, Super Bowl, as far as being a Super Bowl contender in 2 years, let's see what the roster looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, nah, it ain't happening, because quite honestly, I didn't think they'd be a playoff team last year. But let's see what it looks like, this team, and then we can kind of go from there. Right now, this roster's not complete, and it won't be until after the draft. So we'll figure that out. All right, Gus Bus 9000. Do you trade up to get the best receiver possible in the draft? Receiver class is weaker this year. I don't think I would trade up. The receiver class, depending on who you listen to in the draft class, is not that bad. It's kind of deep.
Yeah.
Those of you who don't know, I had Keith Sanchez on last week, and then the week before I had Damian Parson, both of whom are the hosts of Locked On NFL Draft. Really good talent evaluators, ladies and gentlemen. I suggest you try and listen to those shows because I specifically asked him about receivers. And Damian in particular gave some names that I don't think a lot of people are talking about that he thinks could be nice day 3 value picks at receiver. So do check that out if you get a chance. That was about 2 weeks ago. I think I did that show. And that was with Damian Parson. And let me see if I can find the name of the show. Was that, let's see. I don't remember the name of it, but was he Out of the Box? Maybe it was, I think it was called They Might Be New York Giants might have been the show. So check it out. All right.
To answer his question from my perspective, I think he just answered it himself. He said, do you trade up to get the best receiver possible in this draft? The wide receiver class is weaker this year. It's exact. Why would you trade up then if it's a weak wide receiver class?
I think maybe he meant though
maybe like the overall. Class. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, yeah, I don't see a Jamar Chase in this class. I don't see a Jalen Waddle in this class. I don't see a wide receiver worth giving up like high-end draft capital to go up and get. I think there's some good receivers. But yeah, no, I would not trade up.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Jay Sports Card wants to know, could the Giants sign a cornerback too? And if so, who? You know what? It's a good question. Draft one, though. I would draft. This cornerback class is so deep.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather get 2 guys on their rookie contract who I mean, you can legitimately get starters according to, some of the draft experts I've spoken to. There are starters in as late as round 3 with round 3 projections.
I don't think, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to sign a corner. I mean, maybe like a couple of like a depth corner, but I don't think we're going to spend big money on a corner because of what you just said. The draft class is loaded at that position. If we want a corner, we'll be able to get a good one at 25. I don't think we're signing a corner.
I think so too. Yeah. All right. Papa Gusa wants to know, do you see the Giants drafting a tight end in later rounds? I could see it. Yeah. I mean, I know they just re-signed Cager.
Yeah. But he's kind of like a hybrid. He's not like a true tight end.
Right. Like, I could definitely see it. How late, I couldn't tell you. I mean, running back to me would be a little bit more of a priority.
Mm-hmm.
But
I would love to get like a thumper at the running back position this year to pair with Saquon.
Yeah, I don't exactly. I don't think I've gone back and forth as to whether Matt Breida comes back.
I'm thinking he's not coming back.
I'm thinking no. I'm thinking I'd like to see him back, but I doubt it. I mean, they brought down one player from Buffalo to kind of get that offense off the ground, and they did. And at what point do you just say, okay, now we're going to start moving on, and because the rest of the team knows what we're doing? So, yeah,
I like him. I wouldn't mind if he's back, but
I wouldn't mind either, definitely. Yeah. So, but I don't think he's back. All right, let's see. I know there was a question somebody asked about the new turf and when that was going in. I don't know if it's. I think the new turf is going to go in after, to me, it would make sense to do it after the summer concerts because why put that new turf down and then have it ripped up?
Right.
My guess would be maybe after the summer concerts are done, before the start of the preseason. It's going to take roughly, I think, a week or so to lay down the new turf, whatever surface they decided on.
Okay.
But I'll see if I can find out more about that. I know somebody asked that, and again, I saw it flash by, so I apologize. I didn't catch the person's name, but I hope you're still in the chat and answers your question. H1000, who should be accountable if the 2023 draft class is injured as much as the 2022 draft class? Injuries happen. Now, this being said, that is a question I want to ask of Shane at some point. And say, look, you guys said you were going to look at this. What did you find? That might even be a Dable question. How are they training these guys? Now, here's a theory I have, and I can't speak for previous years. I can only speak for last year. Heck, maybe I can speak for previous years because of the coaching turnaround. The strength and conditioning coach, who is hired by the head coach, is responsible for putting together plans for these guys to get them built up the way they need to. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but the NFLPA published a report card of all 32 teams' workplaces. And of the Giant grades, the Giants ranked 8th overall, but their strength and conditioning program did not rank very highly. I think it was 24th.
Yeah.
Because guys felt that, the coaches weren't giving them enough, customization and whatnot. Now, is that because they were hired late last year and guys were already training? I think with a strength and conditioning program, you have to let it kind of take root and then see what happens. I know when Aaron Wellman was here, the Giants weren't one of the most injured teams in the league. So, it could be any number of things, but I know the Giants are looking at it. And that again, that's probably a question that if I can get to Dable on that, I would.
You got to write these questions down.
They're up here.
We got the turf. We got what was the other one we asked earlier? I forget now. There's something, the contract question, maybe. You remember, it's in your head.
I hope I remember. Sometimes I don't remember what I had for lunch. Actually, I didn't remember what I had for lunch today. I asked my husband, I'm like, what do we have for lunch? It's just been that kind of a day. But seriously. All right. Zig 8100. What do you guys think about bringing Bradbury back?
No.
I don't see it happening. After
he doesn't fit the defense either. He's his own corner. He doesn't. We want a press corner. He doesn't fit.
Yeah, exactly.
And I like him, but I was upset we lost him last year. Obviously, I knew we were gonna when I knew the salary cap, but I just don't think he fits Wink's defense particularly well.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Funny one here from Bill Maxfield. Name your new Boston Terrier, Eli. I don't think I'm getting a Boston Terrier. My husband wants a Shih Tzu. I want a female dog because I had a female dog for years, Molly, my baby. And if I get a female dog, I'm going to name her either Lucy or Daisy. I just like those names. That's assuming that the boss upstairs approves of the names. So Molly, we just adopted. She was already named Molly, and the name just fits, so we kept the name. So, but yeah, whatever dog we can find that needs a home, I would take two or three. I love dogs. I absolutely love them. So
I'm a big dog person. Next dog I get, I'm going to name Saquon.
I don't think I would name a dog after a player.
I did as a kid, Tiki, but that was a horrible mistake because then Tiki badmouthed Eli.
Well, it's funny. My very first dog, actually, the first dog my husband and I had, we had a pure yellow lab. We named it Bernie. It was a female dog, but we named her Bernie. After we used to live on a street, Bernie, and we named her after the street we lived on. So our first condo was on a Bernie Street, and I was like, okay, we'll just name the dog Bernie. That way we don't forget.
That works.
It worked.
Good dog name.
Yeah, I mean it's fun. I mean it's the closest. We'll figure it out. I mean, like I said, I like Lucy or Daisy for a female dog, but if we get a male dog, then I have no idea what I would possibly name it.
Call him Daniel, DJ.
Nah, I don't think I'd name him that. I would probably go for like a Buddy or I don't know. I'll think of something, and I'm sure he'll think of something.
He'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. That's just one of those decisions. If you had a kid, I mean, although I was told if we had ever had a son, I was told right off the bat he was going to be a junior. I would have had no say in the matter. And I'm like, I don't think I would have named him after my husband, but my husband was intent on having a junior. So that didn't work out. But anyway, all right, let's see what other questions we have. Okay. Fabian asks, was DJ's contract big NFL news or just for us fans who haven't watched TV in a while? It was big NFL news. It made the ticker.
I mean, anytime a quarterback signs, it's going to be big news.
Yeah. I mean, Geno Smith was big news the other day. Derek Carr was big news.
Matter of fact, I can't wait.
Quarterbacks are just big news.
I obviously haven't, because as soon as it happened, after I got off work, I went live. But so I haven't really gotten up. And I'm sure everybody's bad-mouthing it on the national stage because of the 160 level number. But I can't wait to see what they all have to say in regards to the contract. It's not nearly as bad as they're going to portray it.
Right. Exactly.
I can't wait to see what they have to say.
I can't wait either. All right. Prodeep Cox. Why wouldn't Giants let Saquon play on the tag? Lower average value than the contract he's looking for. Can always tag again. Don't see Saquon sitting out.
Well, that's I'll give my
Nah.
reasoning. One, I think it is that reason that I think they view him as a leader, right? They view him as a guy that's respected in the locker room. And I feel like if the New York Giants kind of did him, if he was not happy and they did him dirty, it might not sit well with a lot of the guys in that locker room. I'll start there. But two, if you extend Saquon, he may only go $4 or $5 million against the cap year one. You could structure it in a way where he maybe go $4 or $5 million. It's the same argument with Daniel Jones. It would be with Saquon, but it's on a smaller scale because it's a running back. Rather than being 10 against the cap, he may go 5 against the cap year one, and then year two he may go like his year two hit would probably equal the second franchise hit.
Right.
It would probably be like same thing with Daniel, right? Daniel's the second franchise hit is 39. Saquon, we'll say, would be 13 or 14 on the franchise hit. That's what it would be against the cap year two, and it would probably be like 5 against the cap this year. So you'd have more flexibility. And again, he's a leader in the locker room. That's the reason. But I don't think they're going to go above and beyond. They're not giving him $60 million. That's not happening.
No.
He's going to have to meet them where they want to be. But I think they prefer, actually, to get him on a reasonable extension.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, Saquon, you also got to look into age. You got to look at durability. You know, if Saquon had stayed healthy, we'd be talking a whole different ballgame here.
Yeah.
And that hasn't been the case, unfortunately. So, yeah, I mean, Saquon's going to be, and I think Saquon understands that. And, you know, he's functioning well in this offense. And I think, you know, he likes playing with Daniel. He had a career year last year. I don't think Saquon's stupid enough to say, oh my God, it's the heck with the Giants. I'm going elsewhere because I'm being disrespected. No, I don't think he's like that. I really, really don't.
Yeah.
I really don't.
I think he wants to be here. He just wants to be.
I think so too. He said it. He said it basically. So
yeah, he wants to be fairly compensated, but I think he wants to be here.
Sure, we all want to be fairly compensated. We all want more money than we're worth. I keep telling you, people, I want $1 million. I got KISS tickets to pay for, dude. So floor seats, got them 2 nights at the Garden. I'm so psyched. So psyched. So, all right, Barbara A. Carroll asked, did you see the Eagles laughing at Dimes getting paid? You know what? Who cares what the Eagles do? They're a bunch of, they've been laughing and taking jibes at the Giants. You know, it reminds me of the schoolyard garbage.
Wait. Did the actual Eagles laugh at him or the fans? The
probably
team?
Whoever it was. Who cares? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me.
And I'll laugh when I see them pay Jalen Hurts. I'll be laughing too. So I'm looking forward to that contract, Eagles fans.
Oh man!
Wait till he gets $57 million a year, whatever.
Yeah, well, Howie Roseman's pretty good with what he does.
No, he's great. I can't even hate on him. He's great.
You know, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see. But I'm not bothered by that. They can laugh all they want. What did kind of like, I don't want to say bothered me because I generally don't comment about this, but one of the Eagle beat writers made a comment about how poorly the Giants are run. And I'm like, dude, have you ever set foot in the facility?
Oh, I saw the guy you're talking about. Yeah, I saw the guy you're talking about.
I'm like, that sounded like, you know, I was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Where are you getting this stuff from? You know, so anyway, let me see what we have. What else we have here with questions? I mean, the big contract insurance. Let's see. I'm just scrolling through here. Oh, here we go. Okay. Lawson Everett, who just tuned in. Excuse me. What does this mean for the Julian Love situation? Yeah, Lawson, we don't think Julian's going to be back. I mean, if they can get him at around 6 to 7 per year,
which possibly is what I heard. I forgot who said it. Somebody said it on Twitter. Like one of you, I think it was one of the beat reporters. I don't remember which one. It wasn't you. They said that they thought his market could be in the $5 to $7 million range. To which I said, if that's the range, then I'm in. I'll do it for that. But I think that's like anything above that. When you factor in that McKinney's a possible,
I think that's what he was offered, if I'm not mistaken, during the bye week.
Yeah. So if they can get him for that, if you go like 7 for 21, even say 15's guaranteed, I'm fine with that. But if it's anything over that, I think you got to be smarter and invest elsewhere.
Yeah, I like Julian. I hope he can come back. I just got the impression last week at the combine, listening to Shane. I'm like, I don't think that's going to happen.
He hasn't even mentioned him. He hasn't really. He mentioned him in season, but he hasn't mentioned him postseason.
He mentioned the safeties, and that there were 2 media sessions. So there was the one on the podium, and then there was
Right.
one behind the
Right.
curtain. So yeah, I'm not. I mean, I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Every year I predict who's coming back, who's not. And I always have one surprise in there that I didn't see coming, that I thought, oh, wow, I didn't think that guy was going to be back, but here he is. So,
What was the surprise last year? I'm trying to think.
This past year or last year?
Yeah, 2022.
Breida would probably be my surprise.
No, I mean last year's team. Who was the surprise
last year
that was back?
Oh gosh, I'd have to go back and look and see who they signed.
We didn't sign many people.
Yeah,
we wouldn't really have a surprise.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think Breida would probably be my surprise for this year.
Breida would be like your surprise this year. I could see Breida coming back.
I wouldn't mind it. Breida was.
I wouldn't mind it.
But
I agree with you. I don't think he'll be back.
Yeah. All right. Christy asks, do you think we get a wide receiver and free agency, the draft, or both? I can see both. Get a receiver, towards in the second or third wave of free agency. I don't think the Giants will be very active in the first wave of free agency. They're going to focus on their own guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I could see both. I mean,
I think it has to.
You guys got to remember, there's going to be guys that are going to be cut.
Yeah.
So that could change the complexion of the class. So that's why, when you guys ask me these questions, I'm like, let's kind of see what the class looks like when we get a little closer. Because suddenly, if you have, if a Hopkins hits, or, I'm not saying this would happen. If T. Higgins becomes available, now this changes the complexion of what the class looks like. So
it's just a hot take this year, and a lot of my hot takes are wrong, and I'm probably wrong about this. I think we're going to trade for a receiver. I really do.
Well, we talked about that earlier. I could see it. I can make a case for that.
I just don't know which one, but I think we're going to trade.
Would you want Hopkins? Would you want Hopkins?
Without the extension, I'm fine with it. But with the extension, I'm not. But I do. I think we're gonna make a move for a receiver. I don't know who, but that's my guess.
What about Allen Robinson or Robert Woods?
Robert Wood. I think no. Well, they're free agents. I think if they're going to trade
Robinson, I think is going to be released, right?
Yeah.
Woods is a free agent.
They just Robbie Anderson was released too. He's like a cheaper.
Didn't he change his name? Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, I think he did.
Was it Chance now or something?
Yeah, I can't remember, but I think you're right. I think he did. But I don't know. I don't know who it's going to be. But I look at the wide receiver class in free agency and the draft, and I'm like, it doesn't blow me away. And I'm
it doesn't. It's a weak class.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, if they have it's got to be the right price. That's the key. But if the right situation comes along, I think Shane's going to pull the trigger. I think we're going to trade for a receiver.
Well, I mean, they didn't do it last year, which I found interesting. So it's like, if he held his water last year, why would that change this year now that he has a better cap situation and more assets?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they're one receiver away.
No, they're not one receiver away. I think it has to be the right fit. I think it has to be like Diggs. The Bills weren't one receiver away when they got him, but that helped the team. And True. They started, so I just feel like that's a big piece for this team. And if they have the ability to go out and get one, I think it gives them the luxury of worrying about other positions early in the draft. You can worry about the offensive line. You can worry, so that's where my head's at. But again, they're not going to just do it to do it. It's got to be the right receiver, and it's got to be the right price.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we can all agree that the receiver classes or the Giants receiver room is going to be totally redone. Somebody mentioned Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't know. I know we wrote about him over on Giants Country, but the more I think about that,
you could get him on your YouTube channel. He's a big TikToker.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
I just
he's like,
recently joined TikTok.
did you? I still don't have a TikTok.
I,
I
you
think you
know,
get. I think views are much bigger on TikTok than YouTube, but I'm not on TikTok.
Instagram, I'm trying to build up my Instagram game.
Hmm.
So my Instagram, I have, I think 1,700 followers, I think. So because I'm trying to give people more of like video clips and
Hmm.
the info cards and factors and stuff like that. But how much social media can one be on? It's
That's why
like,
I just stick to Twitter and YouTube and
yeah. So
Twitter.
here's my information: Twitter, my Twitter handle, my Instagram is at Patty Traina. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I just put up some video stuff. So yeah, I mean, because TikTok, I think I'm at Patricia Traina on TikTok, but I don't have a whole lot of followers. I just followed it.
YouTube basically has the whole thing with. I don't even have TikTok, but I'm like, to my knowledge, I think it's just quick minute videos, right? Like that's what
Right.
TikTok.
But it's the same thing. Although with
YouTube has
TikTok,
that
I
now,
think
right? Like, don't they have like quick?
TikTok, you can do up to 10 minutes, I think.
Oh, can
So,
you? Because
yeah,
YouTube
because
now
I
has
mean, a
the
lot of
quick
times,
minute thing now.
because a lot of times, my videos, like for me to get a video under a minute, it's so hard.
Yeah.
So, I go to TikTok with a little longer video, but anyway, yeah, there's only so many hours in the day for me to do. I mean, today that was all I was doing was TikTok, Instagram, making videos like crazy. I didn't do a
Yeah.
heck of a lot of writing, which was not good. But anyway, let's see who we have any other questions. I'm just looking here. I don't see it. Looks like we got some comments about, oh, here, Papa Guzzo has one. Will Bellinger be a major receiving target as a tight end?
No,
I don't know, major. What do
he'll
you?
be more used probably, but
Yeah,
this
I don't
offense
think it.
doesn't revolve around the tight end.
No, exactly,
I
exactly.
He maybe. I think I could see him having like a 400-yard year, maybe, but it doesn't. This offense doesn't really revolve around the tight end.
Yeah. New York Giants 26 asks if Eric Kendricks can be an option. Isn't he retiring?
He
I
got
know
cut.
he.
I didn't hear he was retiring. He got cut.
I thought I saw he was done, but
Maybe you did. I didn't see if it. I just didn't see it. Maybe it did. That came out as well. I know he was cut.
I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna look it up real quick. I thought I saw he was retiring, but I could be wrong. I'm
He wasn't
probably
very
am.
good last year. I know that. He was on the worst defense in football.
Um, Let me see. Or maybe he did retire.
Let me
Eric
see.
was
Eric Kendricks' final touchdown for the Vikings. Should Giants pursue?
on Eric.
Yeah, no, he just got cut. I don't see anything about him retiring.
Yeah, all right. Maybe he's not retiring. I thought I thought I saw something with retiring, but maybe he was the guy that the Jets initially signed and then he went back to the Vikings, right? Is that the same guy?
Was it?
That,
No, I thought that
or
was
was it Anthony Barr?
it was Barr. That's who it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was Barr.
Oh, Kendricks, wasn't he with the Eagles at one point?
No, there's a guy just like him who was with the Eagles. That's a linebacker. I
Okay.
can't remember his last name, but it's not him. No, I don't. I don't think. I think. Let me just make sure of that, but I don't think so. No, he's been.
All
I think
right.
he's always been a Viking, if I'm not
All
mistaken.
right.
I
It
could be.
could be wrong.
Yeah.
That's what I get for not playing fantasy football. I'm not as up on this stuff as I should be. I'm going to play this year, I think. But all
Yeah.
right, Norman Cohen asked, "Will Barkley sign before July for a multi-year?" He has to. The deadline's July 17th. So if he's going to, got to. So that's a
I think you
given.
will. I think they'll get it done. I just
I
hope.
think so too. I think so
I just hope.
too.
I just hope it happens sooner than later. But I think it's. I think that contract is going to take a while. I don't think it's going to
Right.
happen right away.
Right.
But I think it will happen.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Barbara A. Carroll asked about Tom Brady to the 49ers rumor, probably because Brady doesn't he comes from the West Coast, but I think I saw a social media post from Brady kind of laughing that off, saying, nah, I'm not coming back. So I mean, but who knows? He's come back once before, but um,
He's got to
yeah.
stay retired. Just get in the broadcast booth and call some game. You won 7 Super Bowls.
Yes. Stay there
He's
and
good. Stay relax, man.
yep, absolutely.
Barbara wants to
And
know if you're going to be attending a
Michael
Knicks game.
Kendricks was the one that was on the Eagles. Thank
Yes,
you,
yes,
New
yes,
York
yes. They're brothers.
Thank
They're
you,
brothers.
NY Giants 26.
Yeah, they're brothers.
I knew there was a Kendricks on the Eagles. Okay, Barbara Carroll asked me, will I be attending a Knicks game?
Are you a Knicks fan?
I'm not a basketball fan, believe it or
Okay,
not.
okay.
My brother's a big fan of basketball. He likes the Knicks. I never really got into basketball.
They're going for the 10th
Probably
straight
because when I
tonight.
was a kid, they wanted me to play basketball because I was always one of the tallest kids in the class, and
Yeah.
I was just bad at it. I was so bad at it. I understand the rules of the game, but my technique, I was just not a good basketball player, and I never got into it. I'm more of a hockey fan. I love hockey. Obviously, football, baseball, I can tolerate. Not,
Yeah.
I mean, here and there, not every day. Funny thing, because I wanted to be a baseball writer growing
I
up.
remember you telling me
Not,
that.
not a,
The Mets, right?
right, the Mets.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if I hadn't been a football writer, I think I would have been a hockey writer because I love hockey. I really do. And if I hadn't been a sports writer, believe it or not, I would liked to have been a music entertainer writer.
I
Hence my
believe
love
that.
for
You're big into music. You got the guitars, Kiss.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm playing like some cool songs. I mean, the other night I mastered "Sweet Child of Mine."
There you
I
go.
got the riffs down and everything, and I'm psyched. Like I said, I got floor tickets to see Kiss. I'm going
Where
both nights.
it's at the Garden?
At the Garden, the last 2
That's awesome.
shows, I got floor tickets, the penultimate, and then I'm in the section. Oh, I forget the section number, but it's in the 100s for the and it's a good seat. And I'm like, I'm so psyched. I can't believe I'm still pinching myself that I got a floor seat for
Le
like
The last
the
time I
single
went
portion.
to a concert at the Garden, it was, Billy Joel. I saw Billy Joel at the Garden. And then
My husband and I have been talking about going to see Billy Joel, but we haven't. But the last concert we saw at the Garden was Kiss in 2019, and
there
then
you
I
go.
saw them in at the Prue Center, and I want to say the year afterwards. But it's funny because you got that whole lip syncing thing and everything like that, and I just go. It's just fun. What can I say? I have fun. I meet people. Felt they're everybody's around your age or my age, I should say. It's
Yeah.
like it's so cool. So, but yeah, that's my. I'm smiling because I was so lucky to get that. But all right,
You're smiling because of Kiss. I'm smiling because Daniel Jones signed.
I'm smiling because now I can. It's funny because today it's like I had to skip. I didn't go to my chiropractor today because I was getting content ready for everything, and I recorded a show earlier. And my husband's like, "You going?" I said, "No, tell the doctor I can't make it. I'll see him on Friday." So I'm one of the doctor's favorite patients. He likes me, so he gives me fish and everything like that. He's a cool guy.
Mhm.
And he's a Kiss fan, and but not much of a football fan. But he said he's learning football from me, so it's pretty cool. I also was at the eye doctor this morning, and my eye doctor is really into football, so he just lights up when I come in. And I was like, so we were talking about football, and he's like, "What do you think is going to happen with Jones?" And he goes, "Every time you tell me something, it turns out to be true." I says, "I know. What can I say, Doc?" So pretty cool about that. All right. Slim Jim T asks, "What do you think the Giants can do next?" I think next they probably are going to decide how they're going to clear out some salary cap space. Again, what is Kenny Galladay going to be? Is he going to be a pre-June or a post-June?
Julian
What are
Love,
they?
I think, too, right?
Well, they've got time. I'm talking like in the next several days. Julian Love will
Right.
probably be, right after that. Um, you know, Obviously you want to get Leonard Williams' number down. You want to get
Lawrence, maybe talk to Dex.
Yep, you want to talk to Dex. So yeah, that's what I think it would make sense because they haven't really done anything with clearing out cap space, if you notice.
Yeah.
That's coming.
Has to before free agency.
Yeah.
So you know what you're working with.
Exactly. All right, 247 Sports Talk. When should we expect the Saquon deal? Couldn't tell you. I know they closed up the gap. Shane had said that, I think, last week. I can't tell you how big the gap still is. But to be fair, that contract kind of went on the back burner while they were working to get Daniel done.
It had to. You had to get the quarterback.
So
done.
I think now you're going to see maybe the talks ramp up a little bit because how nice would it be if they could get Saquon done before the start of free agency. Now, again, going back to what I explained to you guys earlier, Saquon is locked in. He's going to get $10 million in cash, either through the tag or if he's on his first year of his deal. That could be his signing bonus. That the Giants can make that very easily.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that that's what his cap figure is going to be once he signs a new deal.
Right.
I would think his cap figure will probably be maybe half of that.
5. Yeah, that's what I think. 5 million.
Exactly. So, all right. Let me ask you this. Actually, this is a good point here from New York Giants 26. What other what other players would you cut to create more money?
Darnay Holmes.
You think you would cut him?
He saves $3 million. I'm not like screaming about it. Like I clearly would be okay if they kept him. But like I see that Aaron Robinson's coming back. I feel like he
should be in the slot, in my opinion.
He could be in the slot. You got Flott. I think you're going to draft a corner. You could
draft probably 2.
Yeah, you could save $3 million if you cut Holmes. Holmes seems like a good guy, but I don't know. I feel like that $3 million could be better used somewhere else.
It's interesting. Every year they seem to draft over Darnay Holmes, and every year he seems to survive. But I think you're right. I think I could see them maybe moving on.
He carries almost no dead cap hit. I think it's like I think he's $3 million to pay or like $175,000 a cut.
Right.
So I'm like, that might be $3 million. I could see that.
Yeah. All right, JC Silva. When can we expect an extension for Thomas? Probably next year. I don't see it being done this year. Not a rush there. Worst case, or best case scenario, maybe if they have the cap space at the end of, towards the end of this year, maybe they do it then. But I would say
my guess with him is they're going to do the 5th-year extension like they did with Dex before this year starts.
They're going to pick that up, absolutely.
They're going to pick that up. They're going to let him play in the 4th year, and then they'll probably extend him off the 5th-year extension. That's my guess, and I think they're going to Yeah, and I think they'll do the same thing with Dex ultimately.
Yeah,
Dex will probably play out on the 5th-year extension.
Pattern now with them, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I think they'll do.
Mm-hmm. All right, bearded banded. Who did the Giants go with in the first round? Wideout or O-line or linebacker or best position? I mean, I think it's going to be corner, but it's going to be best position or best player available. Sorry.
It's BPA, but I think BPA is going to be a corner. So I think it's going to be a corner, but it's BPA. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Figu Danilito. Can you run down Jones's new contract numbers and all that once known?
Oh, yeah.
All right. We have some of the numbers, but not all of them. But yes, once I get the numbers, I will do a show on that. I will also do an article on that over at Giants Country. We don't have all the numbers in, but I am working to get my hands on them. Trust me. As soon as I can get them, I will do something on that. So yeah, I don't have them now, but that is on the agenda for sure. As is on the agenda tomorrow on Giants Country, I'm probably going to do an article on where the Giants stand with cap space, keeping in mind that it is a fluid number. Yeah. So the number that I give you tomorrow won't necessarily be the same number in 2 days.
Yeah, well, if they extend Leo, that's going to be significantly different, right? If they extend,
exactly.
So Dex, same thing. It'll be significantly different. So once they sign Saquon, it'll be different. So yeah, like you said, it's what looks like 190 today could look like 80, in 2 weeks. So it could go fast.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I get this every time, when Giants make a transaction. Oh, how much cap space do we have? Guys, it's going to be fluid.
Yeah.
So, don't get too hung up on the cap space. Let's look at what the contracts are coming in at under, and we can go from there. Because remember, the cap space is going to change.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't get too hung up on that. All right. Warren C. asks, which player who got injured last year are you most looking forward to seeing back on the field this coming year? Darian Beavers and Colin Johnson. Those would be my 2.
I'm going to go with Wandale, but I like the Beavers answer.
Well, Wandale started to play. I'm talking. I'm
they
assuming
didn't play at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then if that's the case, I would go with Beavers as well.
Yeah.
How
Beavers
about, I'll
and
throw another
Deshaun
one in there. I
Jackson.
don't. Maybe you said him. I don't think he did. DJ Davidson.
He played a little bit
A
though.
little bit. A little bit.
Yeah.
But I actually thought the first couple of games that he played, he looked pretty good. And we need run stuffers. I'd like to see what he could become. Maybe I'm not that he's going to be a superstar, but he could be maybe a nice little piece on that defensive line.
Definitely. All right. Mike Gorga asked, what do you see for Izudu in 2023? It's interesting. I think there's going to be a competition for left guard. As a matter of fact, I think Joe Shane said that they're going to have a competition. I think they want Izudu to be the left guard eventually. Bredesen is under contract for next year. I think it's his last year that he's under contract. So could it be a scenario where they start with Bredesen and then maybe they give way to Izudu? Depends on how healthy he is. Or I'm sorry, he had the neck. That's the other thing. I'm sorry. He had the neck. Where is he in his rehab from that neck injury? Is that neck going to be okay for him to return, or is it career ending? So kind of assuming he comes back, I think he competes for left guard.
I agree. Definitely. He's going to compete for left guard.
All right. Christy asks, what if the best player at 25 is Bijan Robinson, the running back? If the best player is Bijan Robinson, you take Bijan. You take him. I don't think that will be the case. I don't know that Bijan Robinson will last that long.
Could you imagine? I'm just imagining what Giants Twitter would do if we took Bijan Robinson.
Oh my! It would melt down.
Running back would be fun to watch.
It would melt down when they took Daniel Jones to look tame.
Yeah, that backfield though would be fun to watch. But
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Another position nobody's really talking about. I've seen it mentioned a couple times on the chat here. Punter. What do we do with punter here? Do we bring? I could see them maybe bringing back Jamie Gillen, but get competition, please.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Gillen. So at least
I'm
get
not
competition.
either.
Like at least get competition. Like to me, he's a one-trick pony. He's got a pretty big leg, but he's not good in terms of directional punting. He's not good in terms of pinning them inside the 10. I would like an upgrade at that position. And punting and a punter is a lot more important than people think.
Oh, absolutely. And I see some people mentioning Matt Ariaza.
Matt Ariaza, yeah, he was the draft pick. He got in trouble, didn't he? Like, I forgot what happened. Like, didn't he get kicked off the team or something like that?
Yeah, well,
with Buffalo,
there were allegations against him that were
is that what it was?
That's allegations that were proven. I think the charges were dropped, or maybe they didn't. I don't remember the story exactly, but whatever it was, he was cleared of whatever they were. So, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see if somebody mentions Riley Dixon. It's interesting with Riley Dixon. I still say that somewhere along the line, and I don't have proof of this, but if you notice, Riley Dixon started having problems once Joe Judge came in. And I have no proof of this, but I find it a coincidence that the special teams started going down the toilet when Joe Judge came in and started getting involved. And he was involved in it. There were times
when former special teams coordinator.
Yeah, but that's why you hire T-Mac. What are you doing here?
No.
Now, that's something to keep an eye on. How it's interesting because the Giants, they didn't retain Nick Williams, who was, I think, their special teams quality control coach, and they added an assistant special teams coach. So they did make a change there. Special teams have not been very good the last 3 years.
Our special teams, I don't know where we rank, but maybe we weren't as bad as I think because Gano's good, but our special teams as a whole, our punt coverage
not very good.
And not good.
Not very good. And they got to get better.
Yeah, much better.
Yeah, I like T-Mac. I think T-Mac is still a very good coach. But last year, I don't know if it's, look, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Last year, a lot of the guys he was counting on were taken away from him because they were needed to play elsewhere. Julian Love was a staple. Yeah. There were a few other guys that were staples that saw their special team snaps reduce. And now all of a sudden you're left with guys that really didn't play special teams in college and were being asked to play them, and they had no concept of it. And who was I talking to? I think it was a Dory I was talking to
Yeah.
about special teams. And he was telling me how in most college programs, they don't really get
Yeah, I
into
remember
the
you telling me this. Yeah.
intricacies of teaching special teams like they do at the pro level.
Mm-hmm.
So for a lot of the guys, they had to learn on the fly. So how much of that, was that? How much of it was the scheme? I mean, but overall, yeah, special teams really needs to pick up because just not consistent enough.
Yeah,
Just
Lawrence Tynes made the same point to me when he was on my channel. He said exactly what you just said. Like the special teams was as bad as it was because the guys that you were counting to be special teamers had to play, meaning that the guys that replaced them were worse players on special teams because the roster was so depleted with all the injuries that we had. But the special teams last year was just awful. Like that has to get much better next year for sure. Not to say that should be the primary focus, but that'll improve as you continue to draft well because that improves depth, and depth means special teams and so on and so forth. So it's a process. It'll happen.
right. Yeah. I mean, hopefully they get some more play. I know somebody asked me about, we've got to upgrade it at punt returner and kick return. Yeah, I mean, but that'll come. They're
Yeah,
going to have
as
auditions.
long as Adori's not returning them. What a disaster.
Man, I tell you what, I got flack when I started screaming about Adoree returning punts.
Yeah,
People were saying, "Oh, what are you talking about?" You can't go." I'm like, I'm sorry, I still have
Jason Sehorn.
nightmares from the Jason Sehorn kickoff return.
Yeah,
And I know you can't coach scared. I say that. I understand that.
yeah.
But when you're thin, and they were thin at cornerback, that was my biggest issue. When you're thin at the position to where you're risking, to me, it's just not worth it.
Made no sense.
It
No
made
sense
no
whatsoever.
sense to me. So, I mean, I don't know. Dable's done a lot of things I agree with. I did not agree with that decision.
Yeah, listen, I love Dable to death, but that was a decision the second he made it. You're like, this is a mistake. But you live and you learn. Coaches learn too. It's his first year as a coach.
I'm sure Dable will sit there and say that that he's learned a few things. So,
Oh no, the
like you
Knicks
said, you live and
lost.
you learn. Exactly.
Saw it. That
What's
stinks.
that?
I saw Barbara said in the chat. I just looked. Knicks lost. So the winning streak is over, Barbara.
What was their winning streak?
They had 9 straight.
Wow.
Yeah, so now they're 39-28. They're gonna lose tonight.
Oh, who are they playing?
Charlotte Hornets.
Maybe they'll start a new streak.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't expect them to win them all, right?
Yeah, they'll be all right. They'll bounce back.
Yeah. I mean, I sometimes my husband watches basketball, but I just could never get into it. Hockey, yes. Hockey, I love.
Rangers. Rangers, yeah.
Oh, I hate the Devils. Sorry, Devil fans, but I hate the Devils. It's a personal thing with me.
Yeah. What about the Islanders?
I don't have a feeling one way or another for them, but I don't like the Penguins.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan of the Flyers.
Yeah.
I don't know what the rivalries are. I know the Devils and the Rangers have a rivalry.
The Islanders and the Rangers have a big rivalry.
My thing with the Devils is personal. I do not like that franchise. Goes back years. I'll tell you offline what happened.
That's like your Eagles for me.
Yeah. I'll tell you offline why I don't like the Devils. It's personal for sure. But let me see. Jay Sports Card asks if Nick McLeod. It should be Nick McLeod, not Nate McLeod. I could see him being brought back. I don't think he played that badly.
Yeah.
So
Moreau, maybe another guy.
Well, if they draft, maybe not. I mean, if Moreau's willing to come back on a 1-year vet deal, then maybe. So
yeah.
All right. Papa Guzzo, do you like baseball? Yes, I do like baseball, but in slow doses. Like during the summer, like when we have the downtime, my husband and I actually go and we watch the Somerset Patriots, which I think is an affiliate of the Yankees now. So we go and we catch those games because that's not too far from where we live. So yeah, we will go, and my husband likes to get the sweet seats, so he sits there like with his beer, his beer. It's like, oh, he needs a cigar there. He's like, yep, look at me. So yeah, I like baseball. I played it as a kid. I played softball as a kid, and I was pretty good at it too. but till I wrecked my knees. But let me see. Okay, good point here from Ronnie Bennett Sr. What fans really need to understand is that if Dable didn't think Daniel was the best fit for the contract wouldn't have been done if they would have let him walk. Exactly. I mean, if the Giants didn't think they can win with Daniel Jones, he wouldn't be back.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
mean, I think this contract showed you that they're not 100% like committed long term to him, but they're 100% in finding. This is what this contract told me. They like him. They want to. They want him on this team for the near future. They're not sold that he's the franchise guy yet, but they want to
Right.
find out if he can be. They
Right.
paid him to they paid him to find out if he can be the franchise quarterback. They didn't give him the franchise contract yet, but they gave him enough to prove that he could be that.
Exactly. Exactly. Take a few more. Giovanni Hernandez. Do you still draft a quarterback? You know what? I would. Day 3.
Eh,
I would take a develop. Look, you just lost Davis Webb. You got Tyrod Taylor for another year. Why not get a developmental prospect? All
I
right,
agree.
because it could sync up. So if for some reason Daniel doesn't work out for the long term, you get a guy and you groom him, and he could serve as your stopgap until you maybe pick up, your franchise quarterback.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe he becomes a trade asset. Like, what if Daniel Jones misses 3 games or 4 games due to injury in 2 years? He steps in, he looks really good. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
maybe he suddenly becomes a trade asset. You never know. Quarterbacks are valuable, so I have no issue throwing a 5th round pick, 4th, 5th round pick on a wide receiver on a quarterback rather. None at all.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. Okay, Flip 270 says Davis Webb coaching. He's 27. Yes, Davis Webb is now the quarterback's coach
He's
of the
only 27.
Broncos. Gets to work with Russell
Wow,
Wilson, who's what, 34? Isn't
that's
that an interesting?
crazy.
That's crazy, right?
He's only
But you know what, Dave?
27.
I'll say this, and Davis doesn't get a lot of credit for this. He might not have been successful as a player, but man, did he know his stuff. You
Yeah,
could tell that guy was destined to be a coach. I'm
yeah.
kind of sorry they didn't hire him on the Giants. I think they wanted to, but when Shea Tierney didn't get the job down in Tampa Bay, and then
They,
they did some shuffling around. Now I'm wondering if you know they hired, Dable hired his son to be an offensive assistant. I
Mhm.
think Angela Baker got bumped up in role. So where exactly would Davis have started? He probably would have started as an offensive assistant as well. Although he probably could have been a defensive assistant, just chopping up tape and whatnot. But
Yeah,
being a quarterback's coach, probably more money. Better. That's a big jump.
that's a good first job. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Maybe he would have become the quarterback coach had Shea Tierney left.
You wonder. You
Yeah,
wonder. And if he fixes Russell Wilson, why not?
yeah.
Why not? Is there a particular quarterback in this draft that you think would make a good developmental prospect if he's there?
I saw Giovanni mention Malik Cunningham. We talked about it in the group chat. Max Duggan, I like as like
Yeah, I was
a
gonna say Duggan.
I don't know where he's being mocked, but like as like a 5th round guy, if he's there, I like him. I don't know how much I like him in terms of being like a starter in the pros. Maybe I don't know, but he's tough as hell. I mean, when I watch those TCU games, and he's underrated in terms of his athleticism. Like he could run. I like him. I would be okay taking him in like the 4th or 5th round.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, and if they don't take one, not the end of the world,
Of
but
course.
I think
Yeah.
they're going to. I really do. I would be shocked. I know they did it in Buffalo with Dable, and they had guys that they were trying to develop. And like I said, Tyrod Taylor's only under contract for one more year. Daniel, it just makes too much sense, because you also got to look down the line when you're looking at the draft. Who's going to be in the draft next year and the year after that, and it's long-term planning. Roster planning is never really 1 year at a time. It's usually they're looking 2-3 years down the line.
For
It's
sure.
like a business, which is what it is really. So, um, Got a question here from Jay Sports Club. Would they draft Hendon Hooker in the 3rd or 4th? That might be too high for Hooker, I think.
You think too high, really? Yeah. Well, he's coming off the injury.
Actually, that would be too high, in my opinion, for a quarterback, period.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, because that's around where I think he'll go. I think he'll be like a 3rd-round pick. I'm not against it, but at the end, I don't know. Like, Hendon Hooker's 25 years old. He's coming up with an ACL tear. Yeah, whatever. You're drafting him to be a backup anyway, but I wouldn't want to take a backup quarterback in the 3rd round. I would rather use that on a more important need right now. A backup quarterback is not a need. We just paid Daniel Jones to be our quarterback. We have Tyrod Taylor under contract next year, so
exactly.
Like, I feel like I almost feel like you should wait a year to do that, to be honest with you. Like, just use this draft to build up the roster. We don't got to worry about the backup. We got a good backup. Tyrod's a good backup.
You want a development guy, somebody you can throw on the practice squad.
If you really like a guy, you want to take a stab in the 5th or 6th round, by all means. But I don't feel like it's like a need. Like, it's not something we need to do. If you really like a guy, take him. But that's the way I look at it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think they're going to fill in a lot of positions between the draft and free agency. So I'm not worried about it. I'm curious to see how this all plays out. I mean, free agency starts next week. We got the legal tampering period, and then March 15th, it all gets underway. Plenty of stuff we're going to be talking about. And hopefully next week we can do this again with Dog on this. We got to have Dog.
Well, by next week, you're going to have rumors. You're going to start to have rumors like guys. Well, next week's going to be free agency. That's crazy.
I know. The first week of the 15th isn't the 15th?
13th. If I recall, maybe somebody in chat can let me know.
The 15th is what? Is that Thursday? No, it's Wednesday.
I'm pretty sure though, because I remember I did these free agency streams a couple of years ago. They started announcing who's signing where on the 13th. It doesn't become official.
Yeah, exactly. So by the time free agency technically starts,
Yeah, like on the 13th.
Yeah,
you're going to probably know a guy or two the Giants are going to be signing.
Well, you know what? We'll get with Dog and we'll see if we can plan a show for later in the week. Because I'm sure there'll be some stuff. And of course, we'll keep. I'll keep an eye on the my phone. I look for those announcements and stuff that are coming in. So yeah. So everybody, thank you so much for coming. We hope you enjoyed the live stream. It was a blast as always. Happy day, like I said. Daniel's under contract. Sorry,
done.
Daniel haters, but it's done. Saquon's not going anywhere.
This is for the tears. For all the DJ
That is
haters.
what?
For the tears. I'm collecting tears for the DJ haters.
Oh my goodness. You better watch out. People are going to be like that. They're like, what are you doing, man? But no, seriously, thank you everybody for tuning in to the Locked On Giants podcast. Before you go, I did tape a show earlier today. If you want to check it out, I had some information on numbers and a little bit more detail on that. So if you want to check that out, that's online. We'll continue to bring you shows the rest of the week. And then next week, it's a fun free agency time.
Look, yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what this team's going to I can't wait for 2023. Let's suit them up. I'm ready to watch the Giants right now. We got Jones and Barkley back. We're going to add a couple more pieces in the drafted free agency. Dable, Kafka, year 2. This team's ready to roll.
And don't forget to tune in tomorrow. I don't have the time yet, but Joe Shane, Daniel Jones are going to be on conference calls, Zoom calls with the reporters. So there will be tweets to be had and stuff to be had. And also tomorrow on Giants Country, I'm going to have an article on the cap situation where the Giants are with the cap. So I'm actually going to work on that after I take a quick break following this taping. So thank you. We will see you again tomorrow.
Good night, guys.